Hello, everyone. I am Gertrude Sachekar. As a professional, I have the best of two worlds. On one hand, more than 20 years of experience in the financial industry, and on the other, the skills and superpowers of an associate certified coach. I specialize in leadership, emotional intelligence, and positive intelligence. Today, we are going to talk about setting boundaries and a guide to establishing healthy relationships. I'll start with an introduction, then I'll talk about the definition of boundaries, the boundary spectrum, the types of boundaries, how to communicate them effectively, and then the key takeaways. Have you ever met people who lack any boundaries, who will please others or keep nothing to themselves, even if it harms them? Or those people who are impenetrable, who would never venture anything beyond everything is fine? Both extremes of the boundary spectrum suffer greatly because they lack the ability to form meaningful connections with others. In the book Set Boundaries, Find Peace, author Nidra Glover Tawwab defines boundaries as the expectations and needs that help you feel safe and comfortable in your relationships. Healthy boundaries are the lines that we set to delineate our physical, emotional, and mental outline, determining what is and is not acceptable for each of us. Setting healthy boundaries in relationships enables us to maintain our emotional balance and independence while also promoting mutual respect, trust, and understanding. The sense of comfort and safety in relationships is different for each person and in each relationship, and it is not always as apparent as we think it is. What is acceptable for me may not be for you, and vice versa. The boundaries I have with my parents are different than those I set with my colleagues at work. Having healthy relationships of any kind can be challenging if our boundaries are either too permeable or too rigid, or if we fail to effectively communicate them. I see setting and communicating boundaries as a sign of respect and love for ourselves and others. In the words of Brené Brown, clear is kind. The boundary spectrum ranges from permeable to rigid boundaries. Permeable boundaries are weak. They're not meant to be harmful, and they are not communicated. They lead to unhealthy relationships because we feel depleted, depressed, or anxious. They manifest as oversharing and the desire to please others, and they are driven by fear of not being liked. This usually comes from a place of insecurity. Our saboteurs convinced us that others would not accept us if we set too many boundaries. This looks like doing things for or with other people that you really don't want to do or don't have the time to do. You go to your uncle's wife's grandkid's wedding because it's family, and you don't even know the bride or groom. You do not make any decisions, big or small, without consulting and getting the nod from your partner, sister, or best friend. Rigid boundaries, on the other hand, are the walls we build to keep other people out. Like permeable boundaries, rigid boundaries come from a place of insecurity and a fear of being vulnerable. We do not allow exceptions to our own rules, even when it may be to our advantage to be more flexible. And contrary to permeable boundaries, rigid boundaries look like keeping everyone out, even those people who bring value to our life. The moment we start feeling that things are getting too serious, whether with a new friend or romantic partner, we sabotage that relationship. We never talk about our feelings or show any emotion. Our interactions are superficial and transactional. We create impossible expectations as an excuse to cut people out of our lives because they will never meet those standards. Healthy boundaries are the Goldilocks of boundaries, not too permeable, not too rigid. These are possible when we remain in the present moment for as long as we can. We do not allow our past experiences to creep up and solely our current interactions. They require an awareness of our emotional, mental, and physical capacities, as well as proper communication. This means being crystal clear about what is and is not acceptable. We share our thoughts and feelings with selected people in our lives, regardless of genetic connection. We take our time to gain people's trust, as well as to trust others. Equally important, we say no comfortably, kindly, and without guilt. Okay, maybe there is some guilt that we just process on our own. And when other people say no to us, we understand it is not personal. In her book, Set Boundaries, Find Peace, author Nidra Glover Tawwab identifies 6 types of boundaries. Physical boundaries are your personal space, the perimeter around your body, and physical touch. To honor these boundaries, let others know if you need a larger physical distance and/or your level of comfort with certain types of physical touch. A note on personal space. Personal space varies across cultures. In the Caribbean, for example, where I grew up, people tend to be more comfortable with closer physical proximity than in the US. Sexual boundaries are those associated with the topic of sex, including sexual acts, comments, or content. These boundaries have a clear time and place, as well as an appropriate audience. For example, my friends and I would not discuss anything related to sex when the kids are present, even if they seem to be single-focused on their screens. Intellectual boundaries are your thoughts, ideas, and opinions. These boundaries have 2 aspects. One is being free to express a point of view about anything and being respected. The other is to know which topics are appropriate or not in a specific situation and/or with certain people. For example, I express my thoughts in the content I produce, and you may disagree with it. The key lies in how we express our opinions and respond to each other with respect and kindness. Additionally, the topics I discuss with friends may differ from those I engage in with colleagues at work. Emotional boundaries are when and how we express our feelings and personal thoughts to others. Trust is built gradually, so it is essential to exercise discretion. There are people who will tell you their entire life story before they tell you their name, and I have been on the receiving end many times. That is a sign of a permeable emotional boundary. Share when it is appropriate and choose your confidence carefully. Material boundaries involve your belongings. You decide what to share and with whom. It is your choice. All of us with siblings, especially younger ones, know this boundary very well and most likely have experienced a breach of our material boundaries multiple times. You are not obligated to lend your stuff to anyone if you don't want to do so. It is that simple. If you decide to let others use something of yours, set clear expectations. I have always been particular about lending my books. So when I lend one to selected friends, I would tell them with a smile, there is an R for return on this book. Last but not least, time boundaries are those associated with managing your time and how you allow others to use it. Are you the type of person who will give your precious time freely to anyone so you end up overcommitting? Do you respond email or messages at all hours of the day? Before committing your time to someone else outside of expected obligations, like for example, out of working hours, check your calendar and priorities to avoid overcommitting. If you are busy or enjoying downtime, silence your phone or turn it off completely until it is convenient for you to respond. How can we effectively communicate our boundaries? The simplest answer is to be assertive. Assertiveness means to clearly and respectfully communicate your wants, needs, positions, and boundaries to others. When communicating your boundaries, be clear, precise, and use simple words. Express what you need and want instead of what you don't need or don't want. For example, saying, I need your help with the laundry this afternoon is more effective than saying, I don't want you to work late tonight. Use I statements to express what you feel and need instead of making accusations or blaming the other person. For example, instead of saying, you always ignore me, say something like, I feel hurt when I don't get acknowledged. Last but not least, manage the emotions. Inevitably, there will be guilt and sadness. Because we are wired to be part of a tribe, we fear anything that may make the other person feel bad and break the relationship with us. Thankfully, these emotions are temporary. It is a matter of riding the wave. Boundaries play a crucial role in establishing trust within relationships. Without them, we can become vulnerable to being taken advantage of, or people would not know how to treat us, making the relationship difficult or confusing. If our boundaries are too rigid, we risk missing out on meaningful connections with others. Boundaries are not set in stone. They evolve as we evolve. We can all increase our assertiveness and communicate our boundaries kindly and respectfully. Those who have healthy boundaries and therefore healthy relationships will honor and respect ours. Those who don't are better kept at a safe distance or not in the picture at all. How comfortable are you communicating your boundaries? Let us know in the comments. Thank you so much for listening. Please include your responses in the comments. And for more content, remember to subscribe to my channel. See you again soon.